Okay, everyone, welcome to the Pursuing the Perfect Pint podcast, episode number 4. I'm flying solo today. Danielle's not available, so we're going to try to get through this with me at the helm. But I think we'll get there. We really have 4 things we're going to cover today. I'm going to do, as I usually do, a market update. Then we have a brief sponsor profile and a speaker profile for the Lisbon conference that we're working diligently on. And then we wrap it up with our malt supply chain story. So we had a chance to visit with Mike from Indian Ocean Brewing Company. So we're going to go through those. So we got some content to cover today, but it's all around telling the malt supply chain story and find a bit of interesting information to pass along to you. So with that, I think we'll start with the market update. It remains a very interesting time in the world of malt and the world of malting barley in particular. I have to say, we're probably at a stage where we're seeing a lot more geopolitical influences impacting the market. As a couple examples, recently the U.S.-China announcement of a trade deal, details of which aren't in so much detail, but the fact that they have actually had discussions that look like they've concluded towards some form of agreement, we actually start to see the booking of some grain cargoes out of the U.S., so there seems to be something there. And the impact back to malting barley prices and the market is that has a indirect impact, because one of the elements of that trade deal will be China buying U.S. corn. U.S. corn prices have been fairly strong, and that does have an impact on feed barley prices and therefore on malting barley prices. So as we look at our world of grains, they're all interrelated, and we think about what comes back into the world of malting. So the U.S.-China trade deal is one, and the other thing that could be quite settling to the world is nothing finalized, of course, but the ongoing discussions that could the Ukraine-Russia conflict be concluded in some form, and with that, take a lot of the uncertainty out of the market and give us more certainty. So there's a few of these things, what I call the geopolitical aspects, that have a wide impact on commodity markets, and it certainly impacts the world of malt and malting barley. So I think one big point I wanted to relay today is the fact that we have these very major geopolitical implications. The second big point is around the supply situation, and we just published our journal last week. It's a bit of a strange situation in the sense that we continue to see the global supply of barley increase. This is probably for 2 straight months. We've just seen the harvest results from crop 2025 have been better than expected, so supply keeps creeping higher and higher. What's interesting is at the same time, malting barley prices have now stabilized, even have turned around and gone slightly higher. That's not normal from pure economic theory, that as supply goes up, we should see prices move lower. But we're not seeing that. And what we've seen, all the geographies except Canada have actually increased their malting barley price in the last couple of weeks. It is starting to send a signal that maybe this long run downward of prices that we've been going through for well over a year is starting to run out of momentum to the downside. And like all things, what goes down will eventually stabilize, and we may be seeing some signals now that malting barley prices are starting to form a bottom. There is one last thing that needs to happen, and that's harvest in the Southern Hemisphere. So Australia's harvest is ongoing. It's been delayed a bit with some rain, but it should advance now this week. And we're a week to 10 days away from Argentine barley harvest coming online. So there is still some very important things to conclude, those harvests in South America and Australia. But with that, we would expect the harvest situation for crop 2025 will be over, and we should have a pretty clear signal of what's going on in terms of the supply situation. And I think it's on the back of that prices will actually stabilize, maybe even trend slightly higher. And I guess the other piece supporting that is from our predictive model. What we're seeing is our statistical view of things. We cover 4 geographies of France, Canada, Australia, and Argentina. And across the board, all 4 of those regions for both malting barley and feed barley, the price signal for the forward 18 months is generally sideways to higher, which is really reinforcing this idea that we maybe are starting to form a bottom to prices. So we have lots of malting barley in the world, lots of barley in general, and prices have been declining. Maybe for brewers out there, you might be looking at this as an opportunity to start to lock in some of your prices for 2026, because we do see potential that these prices will now start to gradually increase. At the same time, we don't see a big upside. We have a very comfortable supply situation, so prices are going to be capped to a level, but within that we can still see some gradual increase. So from that standpoint, that's the market update. Some interesting things, geopolitical, and the fundamentals of the market are such that we should be in a fairly comfortable sideways to slightly higher price environment, but we need to see how these geopolitical implications turn out in the end. So that's the market update for today. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the RMI team on that. Okay, so now next up on the agenda, we're going to do a sponsor profile for the Lisbon conference, the 13th RMI conference in Lisbon, Portugal. I reached out and had a discussion with Malin Anderson from Viking Malt. Viking Malt's been a long-term partner of RMI and continuing that in Lisbon. So very excited to have them continuing the partnership. And what we had a chance here was to spend a few moments and collect some of the thoughts from Malin and Viking Malt on why they think it's important to be part of the RMI conference. So with that, let's go over and share the video we had with this discussion with Malin. Okay, well, we're going to take a few moments today to catch up with one of our sponsors for the Lisbon conference. Today we're catching up with Malin Anderson from Viking Malt. Viking Malt's been a long-standing partner of RMI in our conferences and other events. So first of all, Malin, thanks for taking some time today to catch up and talk about the RMI conference.
Hi, Brent, and thanks to you. It's great to be here and share a few thoughts about RMI conference in Lisbon and why Viking Malt is truly pleased to be a sponsor.
Yeah, well, let's start with that. So I guess, what is it about the RMI conference that you like, and from Viking Malt's perspective, what is it that makes you want to be part of that event?
Well, we think that RMI conference offers great value to the malt industry by selecting thought-provoking speakers, giving valuable insights. And with an open dialogue and sharing expertise from industry veterans to emerging innovators, RMI ensures that all attendees are exposed to the latest trends, strategic insights, and forward-looking perspectives. And sharing of these insights can help everyone make better decisions.
And we call it the malt supply chain under one roof. I guess there's some value in connecting people. So I guess in terms of the other main aspect of the RMI conference is bringing people together. So I guess it's a lot about connections. What's your thoughts when we talk about connecting people?
Yeah, we think it's very much about connecting people, bringing key stakeholders from around the world. Traders, farmers, maltsters, brewers, distillers, and innovators, all in one room, swapping ideas and building connections. And for us at Viking Malt, that kind of networking is invaluable. We see it, of course, as a chance to learn, collaborate, and spark new ideas and solutions for the challenges ahead. And you can discuss where the industry is heading, especially when it comes to the global trends. This is more important than ever in such a fast-changing world. It's super important for the industry in general and for Viking Malt.
Yeah, well, we are in challenging times. I talk about beer volume decline 3 years in a row, and now a whiskey production reset. So I guess when we think of it from the right time to get together, these difficult times is even more important to bring people together.
Yeah, speaking of challenges, from geopolitical uncertainties to the way consumer preferences are shifting, our main customer segments today, they are moving quickly to respond to new trends, and we must ensure that we keep up and stay relevant as we look a decade ahead.
Okay, well, there's quite a list of challenges there. I guess the question that comes from that, Malin, is what lies next for the malt industry?
Yeah, we believe for future success, we believe it's time to rethink our global supply chain setup in terms of location, capabilities, including energy sources. And we are teaming up with our partners to try out new tech, support regenerative farming, and develop malted products that meets the evolving needs of our customers and also other customer segments.
Well, we've got lots to talk about, Malin, that's for sure. And I guess we're excited about the Lisbon conference. We're very pleased to have Viking Malt continue the partnership. So we will definitely do a lot of work in that effort, and very pleased, as I say, to have you join us so as a partner. So thanks for taking some time today, and we look forward to seeing you in Lisbon.
We are excited to be part of that journey and to keep malted ingredients at the heart of our customers for years to come. See you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, well, next up, we're really excited about the agenda for Lisbon 2026. We've had the opportunity to connect with Robbie Miller, who's with Suntory Global Spirits. We've always wanted to profile more of the distilling world at our RMI events. So a big thank you to Robbie for taking some time out of his busy schedule and some very interesting insights that he's going to deliver. So we took a moment to share a little bit of the high level things of what he's going to deliver in his presentation in Lisbon, bringing to the audience. So hope you enjoy it. So we're going to turn over now to this discussion we had with Robbie Miller from Suntory Global Spirits. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so excited today. We got Robbie Miller from Suntory Global Spirits here. So Robbie, first of all, thanks for agreeing to be with us in Lisbon in March of 2026. We haven't really done a massive amount of work in the whole distilling space, so we're really excited to have you there. The theme for the event, as we've discussed, is building a resilient malt supply chain for 2035. So as you think ahead towards Lisbon in March, what are the sort of things that come to your mind when you're thinking about a resilient malt supply chain?
Well, thanks. Look, I'm as Brent just said, my name is Robbie Miller. I'm the Chief Global Brands Officer at Suntory Global Spirits, and I'm really looking forward to being with you at the conference in Lisbon in March. The category at the moment, as all of you are fully aware, is one where we've seen quite a bit of change over the recent past. The growth trajectories are not what we we had before. What I'm really looking forward to is sharing with you a perspective on what is changing with the consumer. It's a very dynamic market out there, and we're seeing a lot of change that we're having to deal with. I'm looking forward to sharing with you. That then has an impact in terms of the category and the trends that we're seeing within the category. And knowing that all of you are very interested in malt-based products, I'll then be sharing a view in terms of where things might go in the future for anything that is made with malted barley or wheat.
Well, I think the audience is going to look forward to that. It is a challenging time, as you said. We're not expecting that you've got a magic bullet that is going to fix all of this. No. But I think those insights you mentioned and just understanding what I call the elusive consumer will be very informative to everyone. There's still a lot of uncertainty, so I think we go into this with our eyes wide open that it's a difficult time. Really looking forward to you being part of it, and people can come to Lisbon and hear it firsthand and interact with you during some of the social aspects as well. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing you in Lisbon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
So now that we've covered both the sponsor and speaker profiles, what we're going to do next is we're going to go to our malt supply chain story. In this case, we had the opportunity when we were in Perth to meet with Mike Morgan from Indian Ocean Brewing Company, who also is on the board of the Western Australian Craft Brewers Association. So we took a moment to catch up with Mike and learn a bit about both his job in Indian Ocean Brewing Company, but also in his role with the Brewing Association. What is he seeing more from a wider trend and what's going on in their part of the world in Western Australia, which is showing quite a vibrant craft brewing industry growth and expansion of all things craft beer related. So with that, we took some time to meet with Mike. We've made a good connection. We may actually go back and spend some time with the association next year. So we've made a good friend with a brewer just north of Perth. So I hope you enjoy the little discussion we had with Mike Morgan from Indian Ocean Brewing Company. Okay, well, now for Pursuing the Perfect Pint, next episode and story, we had the great opportunity to meet with Michael when we were in Perth, and we actually presented together at the GIWA forum, so we got to know each other there. Unfortunately, we couldn't get out and visit the brewery because of some scheduling issues, but we've circled back around. So Mike, thanks for taking some time and appreciate reconnecting with you. Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was wonderful to present with yourself and the other team up on the panel that night. It was great. I learned a lot. I was saying to one of the guys or girls, I had so many notes written down to Google when I got home just to do some more research. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, you've got a couple hats on, but maybe first of all, maybe give the people that will be watching this or listening to this a quick introduction of who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what that means in more detail.
So I really enjoy pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. My background is I'm the president or chairperson, I suppose is the correct way to put it, of the Western Australian Brewers Association. So I've been in that role for a couple of years now, but been on the committee or on the board in other roles as well for at least about 7 years now. So I've been around it for a while in the committee, the association, about 25 years running from memory. So it's been a while. And then my day job is I'm actually now head brewer of the Indian Ocean Brewing Company in Mindarie in Western Australia, which is my day job, pays the bills.
Yeah, which is 30 odd minutes north of Perth, to give people a bit of a lay of the land of where it is. So if someone was in Perth, it's a short journey. You've described it pretty well. We'll get into it, I think, a bit later in terms of if you get there, the enjoyment factor. But maybe before we get too far in that path, maybe around the association, how many members is there in that Western Australian Brewers Association, and what do you do as chairperson, I guess, functions, and how do you connect those people?
Yeah, so the association has Western Australia in general has around 70 breweries, whether or not they have a site or just make beer in general, and we pretty much have about 60 plus of them as members in the association, which is amazing. It's a really good number. We are not pinned to anything like independence or anything like that. Not that those things aren't important, but we just are all about, if you produce beer in Western Australia, then we want to, be part of your group and represent the members and advocate and promote everything that they can do.
Everyone's welcome. It's an open access kind of. If you brew, come on in.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't know if I think you guys might have spent a little bit of time in Fremantle. Did you see Little Creatures at all?
We spoke to Little Creatures when we were actually up when we were in Perth, but we went to Gage Roads, and that was our previous episode. So that was we went to both of their sites. So that was
fantastic.
It was great. That site that they have down along the river is the way we basically framed that one up, so anyone could watch episode 2. But that's getting pretty close to the perfect pint location, but I think you've got something similar as well. So there's some wonderful places on that west coast. There's a couple.
And I think that's a bit of a key theme with many West Australian breweries is that there's that coastline. It's so vast and expanse. My brewery included, and Gage and Little Creatures, just lots of waterfront, and we have lots of breweries like that dotted along the coastline, as well as ones inland and down south and so on.
And the association, so then do you get together monthly or quarterly? What's the interaction look like when you think of those 70 members?
So with the committee itself, we get together at least once a month, whether it's just a Zoom call and go through the agenda. The committee is made up of around about 7 volunteers, so everywhere from chairperson, vice chair, treasurer, secretary, the sort of normal job roles as they're called. We do have an executive officer, so we do have a one paid person who works minimum 2 days a week. It really does all the heavy lifting, let's be honest. So us volunteers, we've got our day jobs as well. And then with the members themselves, we try and at least have a quarterly meeting and an AGM to catch up with everyone, and a Christmas party, of course.
Yeah. Good reasons to get together. So what would the mood be like if I asked you that way, Mike? What's the state of the industry? Do you think, is everyone pretty happy? Is it growing? What are the good things, and maybe what are the challenges that you, as an association, what are you seeing? And when you talk to those various members? Yeah,
if I had to describe the current state of affairs in Western Australian beer, at least anyway, and I'm sure it probably spans across the world and Australia, is I think a real heads down, bums up approach at the moment. And people just really just not tightening the bolts or anything, but just really just concentrating on what can they affect every day. what consumers can they talk to, if they have a venue, how do they get people, bums on seats and things like that. So I've found it a really, heads down, bums up is the way I would see it at the moment. I think in Western Australia in particular, it's still very optimistic. In most markets, it's pretty tough, but it's still pretty optimistic in Western Australia. So everyone's really fighting their best fight to just keep people drinking local is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. And the other thing that I'm sure you noted as well when we went to the GIWA Forum, Grain Industry of Western Australia, it was good to see in the sense that you see that they're thinking even a bit of a governmental level, that what can they do to help promote kind of a value add. So, make more beer, make more whiskey locally with good Western Australian barley. And you heard my little rant when I was on stage around, there's some wonderful stories I think that could be told from the Western Australia farmer right through the brewery into the brands, and potentially use that as a nice leverage with consumers to spark some interest. I was just pleased to see that there's people thinking and how they could probably help promote that, which I think would be a great thing. I don't know if you've got any examples yet where you've done it, but we know some farmers, if you wanted to profile them, that we can get you connected, that's for sure.
That would be wonderful, yeah. And we're definitely seeing that we have what I would call the consumer-facing piece of the Brewers Association, which is called Drink West, Drink Best. So that is the part where we're an association for the members, and we'll do everything we can to promote, advocate, and support them. Part of that needs to be, I think it's all about storytelling, as you say, and education. And we need to show our consumers that, hey, understand who makes your beer, where it's from, why you might like it, why you should like it, and things like that, and why you should maybe think outside the box when it comes to buying your beer and things like that. So Drink West, Drink Best, which is basically all about drink local. So yeah, drink the freshest beer possible. If I was in your hometown, Switzerland, yep, then I'm sure you would take me to somewhere local and say, you should try these guys and girls because they're local. They make the, really great beer and it's fresh. There's no point in flying to Switzerland and buying, a beer from Indian Ocean or any other West Australian brewery because one, you probably wouldn't find it. And two, it's, you should support local and drink. It's an old German saying, drink in the shadow of the brewery. And it sounds cooler in German, but yeah, and that's what we're about, is like, when you reach for that can of beer or that bottle of beer, understand who's making it and what's behind it. So that's our Drink West, Drink Best logo.
Yeah. And I said it a couple of times, and I really feel about it. I think there's an undertold story around the malt role in beer, and I jokingly kind of threw it back at you during the presentation that we can hear a lot about hops, and there's nothing wrong with hops, and I don't know, there's a few hops grown in Australia and even in Western Australia, but I would say a lot of the soul of the beer in a Western Australian context is coming from some good old farmers that are kicking the dust up and doing some wonderful things, and that barley's going around the world in a way. So I think that's one of my little bugaboos. I keep wanting to, as much as we can, focus on that part of the story because I think there's a good one there, but it'll just take time. But I think the hops people actually have done a very good job in building some stories around the different hop varieties, and people talk about it. So I'm just saying, don't stop doing that, but could we also take a similar approach with the barley malt element? I think there's an opportunity there.
I remember me and you talking about that on the evening at the grain industry, and it is so true. It's something I think like there's four main ingredients in beer, and in my eyes, malt is the backbone. I think the other ingredients, whilst they're very important and play just as an integral part, the malt needs to be, absolutely top notch as well. So I think you can play around with those other ingredients a little bit more, but if your malt's not there, then what are you really? But it's the what do they say, that it's the slab you lay down to build the house on, sort of thing.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, the legend Bill Coors always said in the U.S., the grapes are to wine as barley is to beer. So if you thought of it in that term, it is a big and important ingredient. So, well, we got more work to do, and we'll definitely do what we can, and we're happy to support the association. Maybe what we could do is talk a little bit more about Indian Ocean, because as I said, I didn't have a chance to see it, but a few photos I saw and so on, it's pretty amazing. So tell us a little. What's the story of Indian Ocean Brewing Company?
Yeah, so we're actually 20 years old this year, in July, which is pretty up there. Some of those other brands we mentioned before, Gauge Roads, are also around the 20-year mark. Excuse me if I get that wrong. There's another big brand in West Australia called Nail. They were 25 years old this year, started in 2000. And I'm sure you would see this around the world as well, but sort of getting past those first sort of 5-6 years in any business, let alone a beer business, is tough. So to see brands like that survive for that long is really amazing. So yes, I'm really proud of, and I've only been with the company for a couple of years now, but really proud of the history of it. I do happen to live local to it, so I have seen it over those 20 years as well and see it change. And the marina that it's based on is well and truly older than that as well. So the brewery sort of got put in and built. There used to be like a restaurant and a tavern there, so that got sort of put in later on when craft beer started, or micro brewing started kicking off. So it was one of the more original ones. Little Creatures also is, I think, 25 years old this year. So yeah, so one of the
there's a handful that got some of the pioneers, if you say it that way, that kind of got started.
Yeah, I think it's that second wave.
Some newer versions as well. You'd have some more. Are you still seeing the industry grow, or has it stabilized?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I definitely think we're still growing. There's definitely more coming. It's definitely been a slowdown, if not a bit of a plateau. Specifically, my belief is that I think there's still plenty of room to grow in beer in Western Australia and maybe in other parts of the country and the world as well. But I think it's got to be about that local community piece. So I think if you're looking to start something really big, that might be a different story. But I think if you're looking to place a brewery in a local community hub, and whether it's regional or suburban, I think that we've got plenty of space for that. And again, just my opinion, so I hope people don't shoot me down. I really think that then comes down to understanding business and what you're happy with as a business. So when you open a brewery, you don't open a brewery, you actually open a business up, and you need to understand or decide what you think your equilibrium or your point of business is that makes you happy. So if it's you and your wife, you open the business up, you're going to have 2 employees and you're going to bring in X amount of dollars. What does that look like as a brewery? And, does that mean that you and the kids can eat and everyone pays their bills? Or are you striving to go really big? That's also great too. But I think the growth of our industry will come down to small business and more local tap houses or tap rooms, I think will be the key.
Yeah, good model. So what's capacity-wise, how many liters or hectoliters, what's your...
For us, we do around 300,000 litres per annum. So at the brewery, 2,500 litre mash tun, a 3,000 litre kettle. So we can get a little bit of extra across there. We can do a little bit of high grab brewing to help out with our volumes. And we're keg only. So everything just goes into a keg, and predominantly that is poured over our bar at the marina there. The company does own some other venues around Perth, and like any good business, me and the team at the brewery, we have to sell our goods to the rest of the company. They don't mandate that they have us on. So I think that's a really great way to ensure that we're doing the best by them and by the consumer, and making a great quality product to compete against everybody else.
Everyone's a salesperson at some level. You just make a connection and find another tap handle and promote it. So brand wise, what would you say? What's your, if I call it the flagship brand? What's the one that people would be most familiar with?
Flagship. It probably has. I have 2 answers there. Flagship, volume-wise, is probably our draft, so an Australian lager. And I would say the brand that people know us for out in the wider community might be our Fruitless Lupulus, which is a New England IPA, which, but yeah, when that really became a thing, the big hazy, juicy, fruity beers, hoppy, yeah, that was the one that really sort of got everyone talking, and it's stayed on as a core range. God, it must be a good well and truly over 6-7 years now.
So you're saying that whole category, IPA style, that hasn't waned. It's still growing, or at least holding its own. It's not fading.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it is fading a little bit. Okay. I think there's two things going on. I think there's I think there's those that sort of have grown up with the big fruity, hoppy, lower bitterness, softer beers coming through the market in the last probably 10 years. I think they've grown up with that. So when they reach for an IPA, that's what they kind of expect. And then I think people also are now who have sort of grown up with that call it have now come around and gone, oh, do you know what? Like that lager's really nice, or that pilsner's really nice, and that's that's a nice palate reset, and that's my go-to beer. But I still want to reach for that IPA. So yeah, so I think there's sort of a 2-speed thing going on there with it when it comes to that.
Yeah, the lager pills. I think that's been a trend. I would think over the last 5 years, you do see that there is a bit of a migration back to that easy drinking, sessionable, if I say the refreshment sort of a product. That doesn't mean people don't enjoy an IPA style, but I think and that's the biggest market share. So if you wanted to try to find more consumers, then lager pills, the drinkers are the ones to go after. And we did talk about it briefly. Are you doing a non-alcohol, or do you have a mid-strength?
We have mid-strength. Mid-strength is definitely a big thing in Western Australian culture, beer culture, and we have one. It's basically it's called street beer, and it's just a hoppy ale. So mid-strength, 3.5, just dry hopped with a bit of Galaxy, just gives it a nice little tropical finish, but not too much going. There's no hot burn or anything too intense going on. And then we also do a mid-strength ginger beer as well, but that's an RTD, you would call it. So like ethanol, water, alcohol sort of thing.
Well, we talked about it with maybe you, but some of the others we talked on our trip to Perth. We hear things maybe coming from the US and other parts of the world that maybe having more moderate alcohol products is good because consumers are mindful of alcohol they're drinking, or maybe less of it. So that, and when we talk about that, some people said, well, that's nothing new from a Australian or Western Australian perspective. You've been doing it for a long time, and it's kind of like, well, this is nothing new from your perspective. It might be a bit of a shift in other parts of the world, but when we talked to some people, they said, well, we've been doing it for a while, so you want to know more about mid-strength, we're the people to talk to. And in Australia, it's really, it was a good reminder for me even that I think it's already there, and I think it's quite popular, and you see even the bigger players are playing more in that space because they are responding to this consumer trend about, moderation, I guess would be the best way to describe it. They're just not consuming as much alcohol, if they are consuming alcohol at all, and that mid-strength just fits perfect.
Yeah, it is. I think it does definitely in our culture. It's been a thing where around like obviously making sure we drink driving. It's called a drink driving culture. We want to curb that. So mid-strength's always been a big player over here, and I've found over the years too, especially with craft beer, is that usually craft beer would tend towards the big, the bold, and the flavoursome. But then there's people who go, that's fine for X amount of time, but I kind of want all those key markers, but I don't want the alcohol to come along with it. So I think craft brewers have really become adept at making some really flavoursome, bold beers that don't carry the alcohol, and finding those balances, which is fantastic. So
takes a bit of work and finesse it and get it to that right balance, as you say. But if you can, that's kind of what the consumers seem to be striving for. So.
And a little bit to your point before, like lager and pilsner type beers, people are definitely searching for them, not just from the big players, but from the smaller craft brewers. And I think it's because the smaller craft brewers have got the not the technology, but the abilities now to create a really fantastic beer and the time to put it in tank, create a fantastic beer. It's not riddled with VDK and things like that, and get all the parameters correct. So, it's been wonderful to see that emerge as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get to the last question, which is around what the perfect pint would look like. But I guess what we would say to anyone, if you do get in the Perth area, get up to Indian Ocean Brewing, which is 30 kilometers or 30 minutes north of Perth, and reach out to Michael Morgan and have a visit and have a pint. So, but with that, we definitely would do it ourselves if we get back that way. So then we wrap up, Mike, with the the question, if you were pursuing the perfect pint, what beer brand would that be? Kind of in what setting or what occasion? If you had one chance to have the perfect pint, what would that look like as you would see it?
You're probably going to hate me for this answer, but I think the perfect pint and the best beer you ever have is the next one. So like for me, it's all about the time and the location. Like there's so many amazing beers around the world, but yeah, I think it's all about that. That's just that where you're placed. Like if you just knocked off work, and for me, I knock off work and I have this wonderful view of this marina, and I reach for our export lager, and I absolutely love it. It's a German lager. It's one of my favorites. But there's times where I'll also, might be sitting around a bushfire or a campfire, with yourself, and I might reach for a lovely IPA or something like that. So yeah, I suppose the second part of my answer then would be I can't wait to visit Europe. It's not really a place I've visited, so I can't wait to visit Europe and do a lot of the things like Belgium and German breweries and
Yep.
experience
I'll take you
those
to
perfect
a
pints.
local Swiss one. We've got a local one here 5 kilometers away that make a nice ambers. Well,
Lovely.
I'm a lager drinker, so that Marina lager pill style sounds like it's pretty close. So I'll take you up on that. Maybe we can share one by the marina on a sunny day. But Mike, thanks for taking some time and sharing the story, and we'll
My
keep in
pleasure.
touch, and maybe we'll see you next year at the association get together.
Yeah, would love that. Would love to have your experience and knowledge. Imparted on our wonderful members. That'd be awesome. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that's great. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. As I told you ahead of time, it was really great to have a chance to catch up with Mike at Indian Ocean Brewing. Lots of great things going on in WA. So if you're in the area, I would recommend, as we did a couple weeks ago, get to Indian Ocean Brewing. Also get to Gage Roads. You'll have a couple opportunities there. Both are kind of nice places on the water. So I think if you're pursuing the perfect pint, we've found a couple good opportunities for you. So check it out if you get a chance to get to that part of the world. So with that, I guess we're kind of wrapping up episode 4. One thing that we're working on within RMI, I'm just busy finishing up our regional reports. These are a 3-year view to the 7 different regions of the world that we track. So we're preparing these. They'll be ready by the end of November. So anyone that's interested in seeing a bit more detail around what's going on in the different parts of the world as we see it, you can certainly reach out to us, and we're happy to share more information on that. So with that, I guess we'll close out episode 4. We covered off the market update. We heard from Viking Malt, and we heard from Suntory Global Spirits, and we heard the story from Indian Ocean Brewing and the Brewers Association of Western Australia. So we covered a lot. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. We're already working on episode 5. We'll have details for you there in the next week or 10 days. In the meantime, I'm going to go off and pursue my own perfect pint. Hope you do the same, and we'll chat soon. Cheers.